Good afternoon. Welcome to Papa's Custom Cars. I'm going to do a little bit of a video for you on the fender and kind of show you what that all entailed. I've got to do a bunch of cleanup work around here, mainly because it's been very busy. So I look forward to showing you how I did it. Some of the questions I get are on the fiberglass fenders that I've got here on the car. I've done a little bit of modification to it, and I'll be posting a bunch of pictures in this video to kind of show you how it progressed and my thoughts on everything. With that, let's get right to it. So one of the things that you're going to see, and I'm going to show you how I did it, was inside each of these fiberglass fenders, I've put in the steel from the old fender, meaning the support braces and everything are underneath this to give it strength. And one of the things that you'll notice is when you knock on it and it doesn't wiggle, people can lean on it. It doesn't hurt it at all. It's very, very strong this way. I did it and put the fenders on without this support or without the supports in it, and they're really, really flimsy. So this whole video is going to kind of be a walkthrough with different pictures on the process of taking this fender from its raw form to what it is today. My advice to the world: if you got a Nova or anything and you're going to street drive it and you're going to show it, don't go fiberglass, and you'll see why as I go through these pictures. So stay with me and let's go through that, and I'll show you how it's all done.
So on this one, I'm going to do a voiceover, but here's me, got the fender completely ripped off, the old steel one. Had to remove them because there were issues with rust inside the fenders on the interior bubbling up through the paint, and I'll show you that as we get to it. But one of the things you'll see is under that cowl, you see the rust that's there. That whole area was stuffed with plastic by the former owner and created that rust. One of the things to take note of is the shims. Make sure you keep track of the number of shims that you use. In this particular, depicts the interior of the steel fender. As you see, there's a brace in there. That's what I'm after to get out of the fender along with that bottom one. That way I can put it into the fiberglass. Again, me drilling all the spot welds to pull that piece of steel from the fender itself. There are a lot of spot welds, so be ready to get yourself a couple of drill bits. You're going to need it. Once that sucker's all drilled out, you can see it starts to pull away from the fender here. I've got all of them drilled out. You can see the rust at the bottom of the picture there. That's why I had to start this whole thing all over again. Once you get another view of it and the way that it all mounts, if you look, you can see the two braces that hold that sucker together. Here, I'm peeling back the metal from the actual fender interior. So we wanted to get that all peeled apart so that I can start attacking that rust. Once again, look down, you can see the rust on the inner part of that fender up there towards the top. That's all behind that whole thing, but you'll see that here in a minute. This particular one, I've got it apart, and I'm starting to just peel away the whole interior of it so that I can get to the parts that I need. And again, this is a shot of that fender before, the other side fender before I took it apart. Again, we see rust down there along that whole edge. Bad thing about Novas. There's a clear shot of the rust that was behind that unit, or that bracing. It was horrible. There are areas where that bracing will hold pockets of water. Again, just paying attention to setting that piece in there, making sure that I've still got those shims in there, mainly because that's the way it's going to set up. This is the piece coming out of the fender. As you can see, there's rust on the inner fender, not so much on the bracing, but the inner fender is just horrible. Took all this stuff off, ground everything off, and started prepping it for to fit inside that fiberglass fender. I had to cut a whole end of it off there, and you'll have to do it too because the fiberglass is thicker and it curves as it gets towards the outside of the fender. So you're going to have to cut the steel back to get it to fit. This is me I keep putting it on and taking it off just to make sure that everything still fits fine. I took the front bolts, made sure I kept that in place. That way we've got something to secure both ends of that fiberglass too. Again, I'm pounding over and grinding the edges of the brace because the brace will not fit flush inside the fiberglass because the fiberglass is. So I've had to clip some corners on the brace itself just to make it fit, basically back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, in and out of the fender, as you see here, to get it so that I can get where it fits flush inside of it and doesn't make it stick up higher than it should. This is me just making notes to myself. I'm taking pictures as I go to make sure that I get all of the shims where they were, all that kind of fun stuff. Um, Again, taking pictures of that shim, and I've got that one shim up there at that top corner, making sure that I keep track of all that. And I've got to attack the rust with that towel. This is the piece that's finally finished. I've had to notch out. If you see down towards the bottom, there's a couple of spots I had to notch out to get it to fit inside the fiberglass, and then we cleaned it up, made it ready for paint. This is mounting the inner fender wells in the on the steel of the inner fender, making sure that everything fits well and fits the way it's supposed to. I can tell you that this the fiberglass is not anywhere near the normal stuff, but this is me finishing up that inner fender well for the fender. Again, I've got that placed in there, and I've had to mark and cut away a lot more steel than I thought I would have to make it fit inside that fiberglass fender. This is starting to rivet it into place. As you'll see down there at the bottom, that fiberglass does not reach all the way to the end, but I start riveting it into place so that I can make sure that everything fits right. Again, you're going back and forth to the car to make sure that everything is up and up and mounting it in place. Here we've got the bottom of it riveted on, and I'm starting to clamp down the top so that I can make sure that everything fits snug and put in those three rivets again. You're going to go back and forth with this a bunch of times. Hence why I suggest not doing this. And as you'll see as we go through to make this work, it was a lot that I would easily change for steel in a minute. This is the inner fender getting ready to go into place. You can see that it's all flush inside that fender. I used clamps and all kinds of fun stuff to hold it in place. That way it didn't move at all when I put it in. Again, paying attention to that bottom, not having enough fiberglass to reach the end. This is the final fitment where I'm cutting some more. This might be the opposite fender. I'm cutting some more so I can get it to fit inside there. Once I've got it all fit in place, this is the opposite fender, me working on it. What I found was when I started doing the second fender, I found a better way of doing it. So I went back and redid the first fender based on what I found out on the second fender, mainly better support, better structure, that kind of thing. Again, cleaning it up, cutting that edge to make sure that it fit inside that fiberglass, and cleaning up all of the steel because it had a bunch of rust on it. I painted it with some primer, black primer. That way it's ready to go into the fender. It is a rough texture. It's not a smooth texture. Mounting it in for the final time, making sure that everything is secure, using my clamps with wood on them so I don't crack my fiberglass, and putting them into place. This is the driver's side fender, putting it in there. As you see, that piece of steel fits pretty snug in there, so you definitely want to make sure you get everything lined up. Line up your holes while it's on the car. Go ahead and drill them out and clean them up before you attach them to the steel. And that'll make sure that you have everything, real clean and everything, because fiberglass is a mess to work with, as you're going to see. So I've got the other side painted, and that's the inner fender and the brace for both of them. Okay, this is it doing the fitment in the on the driver's side, making sure everything's smooth, making sure everything lines up, all that kind of fun stuff before I put it together. Here I've drilled all my holes. I used kind of where they had the spot welds before and just put rivets in. That's about the best way that it's freezing up that I found that the bond fiberglass to steel is just to rivet it on. That you could do a lot more work, but this seems to work fine for me. On this is the inner fender well, the old steel one. I'm cutting that front nose on the left-hand side off of that fender, put into the fiberglass to offer a way to bond it in. Now I've riveted in the inner fender wells, the fiberglass inner fender wells, to the fiberglass fender to make it all one complete unit. This is that front end of that inner fender, and that's to allow for steel on steel and a nice tight fit. On the bottom, I've cut that piece off of the fender. That way, I've got nice steel to hook to on the bottom, and it gives me a nice tight fit because it is very, very flimsy. But once you've got that steel in place, it definitely gives you places where you can connect to. See down here at the bottom, the two mounts, they're on fiberglass, so that's definitely not strong. So I wanted a piece of steel in there. So this is the inner fender, cutting it off of the inner fender to get it to where I can put it into the fiberglass and make sure that it's all good. And then lining up the holes for the inner fender wells to put in the big bolts. Um, Best to drill them with a small drill bit from the top and then bolt them from the bottom. Uh, Blow your hole out a little bit bigger. Use washers, lots of big washers, because fiberglass is, like I say, you need a good grip on it. Again, doing the front one, making sure it's in the right place, making sure everything's mounted and good to go. This is putting it all together, making it one complete unit. That way you can pull the whole thing off and put it on all at the same time. And you'll notice I'm starting to fit up everything, make sure everything is all lined up and everything, to make sure everything's all good. Here we've got it all riveted on and on the car itself. Again, a look at the bottom. We cut that piece of steel off of the old fender and mounted it to the bottom of that fiberglass to make that so that we had a really good place to bond to, or to bolt the fender to the car. Again, another shot of the whole thing put together. It's all one unit now, so it'll all go on as one piece. One of the things you'll notice is there's a lot of edges that don't line up. You're going to have to pick up the difference on that. I'm going to show you how here in a minute, or at least how I did it. But again, we've got that whole fender put together. You'll see all of the steel bracing in it and all that kind of thing. That definitely helps this fender. It is really strong at this point. Now your front trim does not fit on fiberglass fenders. As you can see, there's big gaps and everything. And you're going to see this all the way along on the whole car. This is the gap between the door and the fiberglass fender. It's huge. You can tell these are made for racing. You slap them on a car, make it look pretty and move along. If you're going to do this and bond everything and drive it on the street, you've got a lot of work to do. My suggestion, don't do it. I'm committed at this point, so I've got to stay with it. So there's the fender fully mounted with the chrome trim and everything around the headlight bezel, and that little marker light thing on the car. This is it at its first car show in its raw form, taking a trophy, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. By the way, this is a Ford show it took a trophy, so that was great. So now I'm trying to bond in and mold that headlight surround so that it fits into the fiberglass and looks correct, as opposed to being sticking out really bad. So I went out and I bought some fiberglass Bondo and started building up that side of the fender so that it fit right. And yeah, I had to use a lot of mat and a lot of fiberglass. So most of this is going to get ground off, but that just shows you how much I had to do. It was way off. Here I've got it pretty much finishing the sanding, trying to get everything lined up and all that. The chrome trim really is an add. Here I've got the whole thing bonded on now, and that's kind of the position they're in right now. I'm still going to cut that groove between the two of them to make it look correct. Here we're doing the other side, and you'll see how far out that sticks from the fiberglass fender, mainly because there's no recess like steel has. This is the unit on the fender, everything on the car with those glassed up and molded along with the front bumper tucked. And I'm starting to work on the grill a little bit to make everything match up. Here's what you have to do to make your gaps line up. You take a piece of tape, put it over the door, fiberglass mat all the way across the whole thing into the door, just up to the tape. You don't have to go all the way, and then start sanding it down. Remove your tape first. You're gonna have no gap, and now what you got to do is create the gap. So I've worked on it, and also one of the other things you'll notice is the bottom line, body line on the fender did not match the bottom body line of the door. So I had to build that to make it match. So more fiberglass work there. This is kind of the completed project, just kind of showing you, hey, look, it looks really good, really smooth, and everything's working well. If you have any comments, questions, or planning to do this, feel free to send me a note, and I'll give you a little bit more on what we could do or what you can do to make it all work right. So for now, that's going to be it. Any questions, comments, concerns, definitely put it down in the notes, and I'll see you on the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.